I'm the Vice Principal here at AOU Peterborough. I get to do just the boring bit before the fun stuff starts. My absolute pleasure to welcome you to AOU Peterborough here into University House. It's going to be a great event today, and exactly the type of thing that a university should be doing, coming in and inviting new ideas, new technology, and inviting you all to learn about it. In terms of practical elements today, here in the lecture hall, we're not expecting a fire alarm today, so if the alarm does go off, please do head out via the way you came in or over in that far corner, and staff will assist you in moving to our muster point. Please do help yourself throughout the afternoon to the refreshments, and the toilets are just back out the main door and just to your left. If you need anything from any members of our staff, you just best to go back to reception, and our reception team will be able to assist you with anything. Okay, thank you very much and have a good day.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our first Peterborough AI Summit. How are you? Well, it wasn't very complete, sorry. If I asked ChatGPT, it would be much better, to be honest. First of all, thank you to the AOU for just having us today. It's lovely to be here. Out of curiosity, how many of you used ChatGPT? Yes, that's exactly what we want. Brilliant. So today we're going to talk about ChatGPT. I am Giancarlo Erra, and I am one of the two organizers of the AI Summit. I am a tech entrepreneur, and I've done several companies and things about AI and things, and later I will do a talk, so you can contact me and ask questions. And we are now just going to introduce everything. We will have some talks and some panels, so I will just pass the mic to my co-organizer and co-host, Bill Bunn.
Hello everybody, I'm Bill Barron. It's great to be here. So this is the first time in Peterborough for us, which means I get to use my joke that I like to take on the road. It goes like this: what an amazing venue, it's wonderful to be here, and you guys all go, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. But there was a guy outside that got beaten up. You're all like, what happened?
What happened?
He was a peanut. Apparently he was assaulted. Moving on, back to Norwich, Bill. Giancarlo and I, we started the AI Summit series just last year. We've done 2 in Norwich now. The first one had about 90 folks who show up for it, lots of great energy. We did another one a couple of months ago. We had about 180 people at the University of the Arts there. And we're here today in Peterborough, and we're also going to be in Cambridge on June 18th, and then Milton Keynes in October. We are looking to take it all around the UK, so if you know anybody who's got an amazing venue in different cities, by all means, let us know. That's me again. So, the thank yous. I'm up here to give the thank yous. All of these amazing brands have made it possible for us to be here today. Obviously, ARU Peterborough, let's have a big hand for ARU Peterborough. The Peterborough and Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority. Plus all these other amazing brands, which includes Samfire, My Health Extras, HR Review, Tap HR, AI Atlas, Wellnergy. There's a festival in London called Wellnergy in a couple of weeks. Be there, it'll be a rectangle. Fidello, Neocase, Disrupt, Curious Entrepreneurs, the people at Performance Podcast, the HR Gazettes, Tweetify It, and you're going to hear more from Alex shortly, who is the chair of Inspire to Ignite, which is an awesome local cause. Okay. At this point, I'm going to hand over to Tom to tell you a bit more about ARU Peterborough.
Thanks, and I'll extend an additional welcome to Jamie's. We are so delighted to be hosting today's summit and working in partnership with everyone just listed. For ARU Peterborough, for those, how many of you, this is your first time on campus incidentally? Which is wonderful, because this is exactly what we exist for, and I think far too often universities are just thought about as a place where school leavers come to continue their education before working out what kind of job they might want. And of course we do that, and we're really proud of that. But we're also an anchor institution within a city, within a region, within a country, etc. And it's really essential to us to make sure we're also a melting pot for ideas and a space for industry, politics, communities, the youth, younger generations to all come together and continue that conversation. We're also here to continue our learning as an institution and personally. A challenge, I can see some of my fellow academics in the room, and a challenge we face is trying to develop a curriculum that prepares a student for a professional career in 4 years' time and beyond. And if anyone here can give us that clarity of what your industries will look like and what kind of AI we'll be using in 4 or 5 years' time, we are delighted to listen to all of that advice so that we can build that into our curriculum and we can take that forward so that as our students do enter the professional workspace, they're ready for it. But obviously behind that actually is just fostering a spirit of adaptability, creativity, and making sure that our learners are comfortable working with uncertainty and rapidly evolving sectors. So we are thrilled to be here and be a host for this conversation. Please do take the opportunity to get to know each other as well throughout the event and get to know the team from Peterborough. Show of hands, colleagues from our Peterborough. Spot them in the room, go and catch them up later. Because also the final point is we're a place of multiple disciplines and we don't want the AI conversation to just be associated with computing technologies. We need to make sure that we understand the role of AI in healthcare, in human resources, in law, in engineering, construction, and all of the other fantastic disciplines that are represented here with yourselves, but also across our curriculum. So thank you for taking the time out of what is most definitely very hectic schedules. I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit, and on that, I'll hand back to Bill. Thank you.
So shortly we're going to get into the main content for the day, which includes 4 amazing speakers. All of our sessions, by the way, there will be an opportunity for Q&A with the audience. Then we're going to have a break. Then we've got the first panel, which is focused on ways that AI is impacting you guys, your personal lives and the wider society. And then the second panel, after the following networking break, is going to focus on something that I'm passionate about, which is the world of work and how AI is impacting that. After that, we'll have a bit of a networking period at the end, where I believe there's an opportunity to do a tour of the amazing VR facilities here at AIU Peterborough. So please stay around for that. Okay, so with all that said, I'd like to now pass over to Trish, who's going to be the moderator for the second panel today. Trish is an awesome human being. She's going to tell you all a little bit more about what she gets up to.
Hi everybody, if you haven't met me already, my name's Trish. I'm going to be your second panel host, like Bill said, and I also run my own HR consultancy, so I'm just going to tell you a tiny little bit about me so that it makes sense why I'm running the panel, and then I'll disappear off and you'll see me later. So, a bit about me. I am a little bit like Batman to HR, in that by day I'm a CPO for an international travel company, but by night I run my own HR consultancy. I've been in HR for the last 20 years, despite my amazing skill, and I'm a total and complete geek, hence the Batman reference there. So to very quickly tell you about TAP HR, we help SMEs across the UK. I've been very lucky that I've got some famous clients, and that's me a bit famous, or a famous, not my client, it's not my client. I don't want to say that. I've also been really lucky to be featured in Daily Mail, featured in People Management Magazine, I host a podcast. If you're into R&B, I've got an R&B show on Bedford Radio, so do tune in. And I've very recently won Best HR Consultancy in Cambridgeshire, so the whole Batman thing is totally paying off for me. But the super cool thing that I do is a lot on social media. So if anybody is on TikTok or on YouTube, I put out a ton of content really to try and make HR more accessible to people and kind of just break down some of the complexities that we've got in law that people might find difficult. So please do follow me. That's probably it for me to be fair. I'll be back up here later, but come find me, have a chat if you want to talk all things HR.
Okay, who's next? Who do we have up next? We have this chap, Nick Cousins. Nick is with my staff shop and my extras, who are one of our supporting partners today. He's going to come up for just a couple of minutes and tell you why you should buy all their stuff. Which one, Dan?
Hi, this is my first time doing this. I'm Nick Cousins, I work with My Health Extras. I'm one of the benefits consultants, so I actually go out into stores and talk to the colleagues about the different benefits that they get. I travel all around with the country doing so, and it is a really great job. We get to meet people every single day, new people, and so everyone becomes a colleague, even though we sort of work alone. So really creating colleague engagement is what my job is. What we tend to find is if you deliver something like this into a company, you're really hoping on that colleague to take the time out to have a little look at things, and as we all know, sometimes we will take a look at something and say we're going to have a look at it later and then put it down and probably never pick it up again. So my job is to go in, try and get people excited about the website and try and get that usage up for people, and we have managed to. We work with Home Bargains. We've been working with them since just before December 2023. Yeah, 22. And we've managed to get 186% increase in colleague engagements. And that's after people like myself and my colleagues go into the stores and deliver it to try and help people save money. And that's ultimately our goal, is to try and help people save money, to provide mental health support, financial advice, etc., etc. So I don't have the wheel today. I'm sorry, I was told that was actually a favourite as well. I only found out about this on Friday, so Jamie sort of offered me up to slaughter, if you like. But by all means, I'll be over here in the corner. If any of you would like to know any more about what I do or about how we deliver it into the companies, more than welcome to have that chat. And just to let you know, we are the only benefits company in the country that do send consultants into the businesses to drive that engagement. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm disappointed. I only came for the spinning wheel and the free coffees. Okay, right, that's the end of me. You don't have to see my face again up here. I'm now passing over to a much better looking chap who's far more engaging. This is Alex Hughes. He is the chair of Inspired to Ignite. They are a fantastic cause. He's going to tell you all about them. I've been volunteering with them, proudly volunteering with them now for quite a while. There will be a bunch of networking breaks. I would ask you to speak to Alex, learn more about Inspired to Ignite, also speak to our partners over here. They've got lots of lovely paraphernalia to share with you, although there is no spinning wheel. Okay, so with that.
I've got pens though.
But he's got pens. There we go. Over to Alex.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex Hughes and I'm a 35-year-old granddad. That's how I usually open in these conversations. I'll let you work the math out and ask me about that in networking later. So Inspired to Ignite, we're a community interest company based over in St Neots. So we cover Cambridge, Peterborough, Milton Keynes. That's what we call the Curious Triangle. And I can tell you, as of this week, as I learned, there's actually 900,000 16 to 24-year-olds that are economically inactive in the UK right now. Up 88,000 from last year, which is crazy, right? Especially when we've got everyone moaning about a skills shortage and labour shortage, but there's a load of economically inactive young people all around the UK that currently don't know you exist. So it's all good having skills providers, employers saying that you'll employ people. That only works if they're looking. So our community interest company doubles down on the engagement stuff. So we do outreach work, we work with sports clubs, sponsored by some amazing brands, and big thank you to Bill and Disrupt HR, they take us all over the place. So really passionate about trying to drive youth engagement, and this topic today with AI is wonderful. So as a neuro-spicy entrepreneur who still yet to pick up his GCSEs, when ChatGPT came about, and I realised that actually the thing that is the superpower is curiosity and asking great questions. Well, as someone who's had to learn his whole life by asking questions, because I can't read very well or anything, actually it's a bit of a superpower for us entrepreneurs. So I'm very passionate about the subject of AI, so thank you for bringing me along to kind of host and co-host today. I told you about Inspired to Ignite. Sam Squire's our CEO. He's a 24-year-old now, used to play for Cambridge United up until he was 19. Didn't get a second contract. Cambridge United were going through some troubles. At the same time, he bumped into me in a cafe in St Neots, saw that I helped people, didn't really know what that meant, neither did I at the time actually, and then just door stopped me and said, look, Alex, I understand you help people, I want to be a life coach. I laughed at him and said, I don't know what you're going to teach people about life at 19, not understanding and appreciating coaching as I do now, nothing to do with age. But I said, look, I'll mentor you, I'll support you. Fast forward to today, Inspired to Ignite. We've engaged 7,500 young people in the last 12 months. We're on track to do 10,000 people at the end of 2024, and we've activated just over 100 young people into industry, whether it be starting their own business, going into full-time education, or going into employment. We've got a couple of curious entrepreneurs I can see Bailey's in here. He'll be a subject of discussion during the panel, I'm sure, around his AI capabilities, and I think he's speaking at the Cambridge event. Yeah, so get along to Cambridge to see Bailey Reddings and remember the name. Okay, so artificial intelligence. So if you think about AI and you think about all the amazing capabilities that we can forecast the natural disasters, we can improve our targeting with missiles, not to Joe. We can do all these incredible things with AI, right? So where it lands, what do? We create TikToks and replace ourselves in videos and put them all over social media and use Suno to create theme tunes for our colleagues when they walk into the office, which is really fun. And you know what? And actually, that's an engagement, right? There's over 100. I think it's 100 million people. Giancarlo will tell us. 100 million people download GPT now.
Probably more. That was last year. Probably more.
So 100 million plus people. But what level of capabilities are we using these tools? And so I've become quite fascinated by this as a topic. And here are some of the things I use it for. So. This video should be playing, but so my executive assistant went on holiday travelling for 3 months last year, and I couldn't wait for her to get back, so I replaced her with AI. She's all right now. She works for Bidwell. She's just fine, but I'm very impatient, so I started to learn. So just some of the things I use it for personally as a micro enterprise. We've got 5 core employees. This gives us superpowers, right? So we've tripled our revenue in the last year. We've managed to get all of that reach, all that content, you're absolutely just smashing it. And these are some of the things, so grant writing. We produce £150,000 worth of grant applications in a month utilising GPT and Puppeteer to search for grants that don't quite exist on the portals that, you know, not everyone has a James O'Rourke in their life that can hustle the library computers to find things. And then producing grants to probably about 90% of the level. And every time we do it, you're training it and getting it better and better, right? Absolute key capability. A research assistant, Zion's in here somewhere. I think Zion's like AIU's biggest rep. I think amazing young guy, real critical thinker and a data analyst. And watching him utilise AI to do his research and map out ecosystems is incredible. Content co-pilot. I've got a personal brand assistant in my pocket. It's amazing, and every time, because I'm terrible, I can talk, but when I try and write, it doesn't always come out the same way. But I've got now a personal brand assistant in my pocket. Amazing, right? Data analyst, we talked about. Finance director, blimey hell. My finance director, who's a fractional FD, isn't always available. So when he was away, again, very impatient, I needed to get all our social value calculations out for a report. So I just created a tool using ChatGPT and a few other tools with Zappify and whatever else all through. And now I have a portable finance director as well, so sorry dude, you can't take a break. And then the workout co-pilot. I don't do much of that, as you can see. I'm not an avid workout fan, but I have something that tells me off for it, maybe on most days, which is great. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of say, AI, it's a big topic, but it does affect everyone. We see it every single day, and I think it's a real leveller. And I think when I saw this statement, I thought, before we get into kind of panel discussions, we get deep into this conversation, I think this for me, is what it's all about. I'm a community guy. I run non-profits. I do a lot of work in trying to enhance our communities. And I think, personally, AI is just an absolute leveller for communities to do what they need to do and not have to, for the impatient entrepreneurs like me, we can. So I welcome you to the AI Summit. I'm very privileged to be here. I'm looking forward to the discussions we're going to have. We're going to start with some speakers to start with, and I think we've already met the man himself, but I'd like to welcome you back up on stage to come and do your keynote. And I think there's time for questions for you as well. So if we can welcome your man back on stage. Thank you very much.
It is there. So let's start with first one. That is AI the new normal. I don't know if it is the same for you, but for me, every single time I'm going to an event, networking, to the pub, whatever it is, I'm always talking about AI. There's always someone talking about AI. So it's definitely coming here. And so I will try to do today a couple of things. First of all, introducing how AI works for non-technical people. So we will understand how it really works behind the scenes, and then we will see what are the tools. As I said before, my name is Giancarlo Erra, I'm Italian. I'm a professional musician, I'm a tech entrepreneur, I've done this for 20 plus years. I'm the founder of Promethean Box. It is a company that produces SaaS based on AI, like Tweetify is an AI for doing social media posts, customized, started from long-form content. Copyforge AI, it is an AI where creative agencies can actually write articles and blog posts. I've done Audio Shapes, is a neural network for doing sound design using hardware synthesizers, and I'm, as well, obviously a mentor and a business consultant. And as I said, there will be mainly 2 modules for this. So first of all, how does AI work? So how does ChatGPT knows what we want? This is the way. Let's see how many people leave the room. No one. That's good. That's good. There is not even alcohol left. Just make it easier. Don't worry. I promise. In a couple of minutes, you will know exactly what's happening there. So, first of all, let's make it a bit more simple. What's the capital of France? The capital of France is Paris. If you ask ChatGPT, this is exactly what it will tell you. Now, very important thing, and I will just repeat this many times. ChatGPT, let's call it ChatGPT in this case, doesn't understand what you mean. Very, very, very important. Remember, it doesn't have any single idea of what France is, what capital means, any of that. It doesn't understand you. Very important. So how does it know? If I was asking what's the capital of France and the language, it will say the capital of France is Paris and the language is French. There is a Q in there. Capital of France, capital of France. If you use ChatGPT, and you told me before you all used it, so don't say no, you will notice that very often you see some words of your question repeated in the answer. That is the major clue for you to understand how it works. What it does, it is literally just predicting what is the next likely word that you need to know. And then the next one, and then the next one. It is like the T9, remember the T9 on the lovely Nokia phone, the brick one? It's exactly the same thing. Obviously this is much better, but it's the same principle. How does it know that? Actually, it is incredibly, incredibly simple. So, what it does, it just knows that if in your question there is the words capital and France, but there is no Paris, then Paris is probably what you need. If there is capital, France and language, it knows, and there is no Paris and French, it knows that it's there. How? Once again, I'm simplifying it, but it's very simple. Just imagine the big computer of OpenAI, it's a very big computer, and it's just going to read everything ever written on the internet, every book, Wikipedia, everything. How many times it will see a sentence with the words capital, France, Paris, language, French, in whatever order? Many times. Every time it is seeing these words all together, just imagine it's putting them all together, thinking, okay, I have no idea what France capital is, it doesn't matter really, I'm just putting them all together in a group. They are related, these words are related. Just imagine them in a space, in a physical space. I call them clouds of context. All these words relate to each other, they are all together in this thing. Probably, it will also see other phrases like capital of Italy, Rome, language, Italian. Something more near for me. And they are all in another clouds of context. But, crucially, in both these clouds of context, there are the words capital and language. So they are 2 different contexts, completely different, and yet they are connected to each other. Now, just imagine expanding this to everything that has ever been written on the internet. It is a gigantic amount of contexts, and crucially, they're all compacted in spaces similar. So the words capital, France, Paris, they're all near each other. This is why it's able to not look into billions and billions and billions of things. It's already there. It's very easy. is what's happening here. Those dots, they are our clouds of context. This is a page talking about computer engineering, model, operating and enforcement, whatever it is. All these dots, the words belong to these dots. These dots are separated, but they are connected to each other by words. And the machine, it is literally learning what these words are all together. When you're asking something, it's just doing the opposite of this. It is literally only how it works. Very important, it doesn't understand what you mean. This is how it works. So, this is why it is incredibly important to do prompt engineering. When they say prompt engineering is the key, I always say the quality of the output of an AI is only as good as the quality of your input. If your question is not good, the answer is not going to be good. But what about images? By the way, this is me today according to OpenAI. Looks good, it doesn't really. So, look at, I don't know if you've ever seen this thing. Let's start top left. There is long sleeve t-shirt, a sweater, whatever it is, and we go there on the right, it becomes a long short sleeve shirt, then it is a dress, if you go down it becomes trousers, we go back on top left, going down, it becomes a bag, the bag becomes a wallet, high shoes, low shoes, sandals. This is a high-level representation of how AI understands objects. Now, let's go back to the example of this big computer of OpenAI, and it's going not through text, but through millions and millions and millions of images, labeled images. So an image, guy with a black shirt, woman with a white bag, whatever. Now, after you see millions and millions of images of a guy with a white or a black t-shirt in all possible angles and lights and things, your brain starts understanding what are the features of that object, right? So if I ask you, just imagine for a moment me wearing a green and yellow shirt here, long sleeve here, short sleeve here. You've never seen me. Hopefully you've never seen a t-shirt like that, because that would be horrible. But you can picture it, yeah, if I could print from your brain, you could literally imagine it. Because you've seen enough t-shirts to just imagine it. This is exactly how it works. After you've seen millions of images, it knows what is the general characteristic of the object and is able to abstract it into also deciding what are the common features between objects. So it doesn't need to store all of them. There are common ones. That is the representation. It means it can imagine all sorts of variations without having to see all of them. So if an AI is looking at millions of images of dogs, for example, of sunsets, sofas, beaches, whatever, I can ask an AI, give me an image of a lovely beach at a sunset with a sofa and a dog on top of it. There it is. That beach doesn't exist, but this AI has seen enough dogs and enough sofas to just put it all together. Now, once again, I'm going to back to this one. Looks good, it is not. The sun is behind the dog, it's not reflected by the sea. That's very weird. And somehow, unless we are not on planet Earth, but some Star Wars world, there are two suns here, because the dog is just illuminated by a sun that is on the right, not from the one that is on the back. So once again, when you use AI, we're going back to this, very careful, it looks good. If you look again, 99% of the time, it doesn't look good. And it can be very easy to spot that is AI. So, now that we understood that actually it is not very difficult how it works, I mean technically it is more difficult, the concept is very simple. What are the tools that we have available? Let's keep talking about images. Midjourney, it is the best in terms of quality. It is a bit bizarre to use because you need to use a chat that is made for gamers. It's a bit expensive, so I would probably say that DALL-E from OpenAI is the best compromise between ease of use and cost for that. Stable Diffusion and Adobe Firefly are interesting technologies, but not really good yet at generating new images. But, as I said before, be careful. So, as I said, this is me, before lap left looks okay. Now, once you start looking, I mean, there's lots of light here, so it's not very, very, very clear, but the guy has a really creepy expression. I mean, probably you can see it from the side monitors. I mean, absolutely terrifying. Terrible. And there is also a weird object behind him. That is, if you see it, is a midway between a microphone, a radio receiver, and the speaker, all together in one thing. This is Midjourney, good, not good. This is OpenAI. Once again, top left, yeah, it's okay. Then, as usual, as you see at the right, there is always a lot of confusion with limbs. Missing limbs, added limbs, limbs fused with objects, very bizarre. And the faces, that is stuff of nightmares. I mean, the faces, they are absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Goes better. This is Stable Diffusion. Once again, top left, looks good. People, there is there a dog, I think, or something with lots of hair, with a hand. And my favorite one is this protrusion here from the stem. I don't know what it is. I don't want to know what it is. But it is weird. It is really, really, really weird. And this is Adobe Firefly. There, as start, if you see the generic one, it's like, it's not too bad. And then you think, why there is a camera with a lens cap pointing out in the wrong direction? That until you see the hand, and you see, this is definitely not good, that hand. So once again, very, very careful with AI. It is lovely, we all love it. Just be careful when you use it, because in terms of reputation, it's very easy to just get your reputation ruined. Very careful. Text. I could just probably spend just an hour telling you what are all the pros and cons of all these tools. As a business owner, or to just making it very simple, OpenAI, it is just very far ahead of everyone else. And I will just say, to make it short, just stick with OpenAI ChatGPT at the moment. Claude 3 is interesting, but just stick with ChatGPT 4. I don't think it is worth it, to be honest, going and spending time with any of the others. So we'll just do some very quick tips and tricks on ChatGPT, because when I talk to people, sometimes they're not necessarily aware of all of this. So first of all, the most important, chats and threads on the left. Use them. And lots of the time, I see two things. A, people starting every time a new conversation that you think, why? If you're talking about something you talked before, you're literally just wasting time, because you are making the AI losing the context. As I said before, context is everything. Use one single thread, one single chat for every topic, and just go back to it. And don't do otherwise the other way around. There is people using one thread for absolutely everything. How to cook a carbonara, or what is the forecast for this Excel, and I don't know, what is the weather forecast for tomorrow? Whatever, in that way, you're just doing exactly the same thing. The context, it is just diluted, and it's not going to be good. So keep very organized your threads, one for each different conversation. Make it yours. You don't need, ChatGPT is really verbose. Every single time, apologizes continuous. Every single time, oh, my apology, oh, I'm sorry, oh, this. You're a machine. I don't want you to apologize. I want you to be just quick. Use the custom instructions, so you can tell it once who you are, what you want, what is the tone, what is the language, and it will be applied automatically to all your chats. Privacy. Once again, I could spend half an hour talking about it. There is a very nice good option now that you can do it. You can disable the improvement of the model, and you can still use the history of the chats. If you use it for work, probably it's best to disable that option there, but it is still a public service. It is not as bad as people think it is, by the way. If you read the privacy, it's not as bad, but you never upload personal data, sensitive data, so always anonymize it. If you upload sales, always anonymize everything. Very important. Use it fully. That small icon there is probably one of the most powerful options of ChatGPT. You can upload an image, and you can ask, oh, I want variations of this image. You can upload a CSV with your personas of your business, and then maybe you can upload a PDF describing your new product, and you can say, can you write for me copy, personalized for all these personas about this new product? You can just do it with the $20 of ChatGPT. It's already there. That is almost a teamwork, and you can do it just very quickly. So use it, it's very powerful. And we can go on also with doing something much more advanced that is there, custom ChatGPT. It's not very clear on their website, but this is the most powerful features that they have. Basically, you can create your GPT, you can write it what you want, what you do, and then you can upload your own documents. So you can have a ChatGPT that is going to answer your question based on a set of documents that you upload, PDF, Excel, whatever you want. Basically, you can say, if you don't know the answer from these documents, don't invent it. It's not going to hallucinate anymore. Very, very, very powerful, and you can have as many as you want. I think I have 30 of them. I'm anonymizing the data once again, but absolutely incredibly powerful. And before I'm closing, I just want to just word of caution about what I said for images is also valid for text. If you read blog posts, I think you've seen probably many of them using this formula. In the adverbally adjective in place of the topic you're talking about, the subject is. In the rapidly evolving landscape of generative AI, ChatGPT is. I think that probably half of the blog on the internet at the moment, they start like that. ChatGPT has a very specific dialect. The more we all start using it, the more we will all notice it. So it might not be relevant now, but in 6 months you might look like a fool because, oh, that is definitely ChatGPT. So use it as a draft. Never, ever, ever get something out of ChatGPT and use it as it is. Also, it's very verbose. Firstly, secondly, moreover, in conclusion, ChatGPT loves it. Every paragraph loves to connect to each other because it was trained on a lot of research paper. But it's very obvious now, so always, always edit it. And there are very good tools to do that. This is one of the many. There are many AI detection tools. That literally, you just post the text of ChatGPT, you just paste it in there, and it tells you, yeah, this reads like AI, and it will tell you exactly where. So you can basically edit your draft, and it will be all done for you. So that is all from me. As I said, I know it was a very generic overview, but it was just to be sure that everyone knows what we're talking about. We're going to probably now time for a couple of questions. If you want to contact with me, that is my QR code for my LinkedIn. I'm always very happy, and you can catch me on the networking ones. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay.
Of the glamorous assistant.
I was going to ask Giancarlo this in the pub at some point. You recently attended a music festival where you talked to a bunch of musicians about using AI and AI modulated tools that you mentioned at the beginning. As creatives, how did they react to the idea of using AI? Did they try and chase you out with pitchforks, or did they start embracing you?
Well, I talked to Brian May and Jean-Michel Jarre, so that was quite good. I mean, to be honest, they weren't against it. The reception that we had for my neural network was very positive. Everyone was very aware that it's not going anywhere, and they were very aware of the fact that it is a creative tool. It's not creative, it is a creative tool. It's like thinking that a guitar is creative. It's not creative, it's a creative tool that a creative can use. So I was expecting much more resistance, but actually everyone understood that it's, it is what it is. And basically, there are lots of tools, like you said, the tools to create music. There are also tools that create normal music, but if you listen to it, it's mostly very low quality or background stuff. So yeah, there will be lots of automation on that, but as an artist, I'm actually quite happy about that, because it means that there will be the known art music, and then there is the art that is something else. So this feeling was shared by most people, to be honest.
Name drop, Brian May.
Sorry?
Yeah, no.
May,
He probably brought that in, didn't he?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you, Giancarlo. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Could you just expand a bit on how the system learns? Because you talked about machine learning and machine training. So could you just say a bit more about how these systems improve over time?
Well, I mean, there are two ways, basically. One, it is the training, the proper training, and I can just very quickly go over it because it's quite technical, but I can very quickly go over it. But what we use nowadays, it is the documents, what I said before, that is called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So the way it works is that you have, at the moment, the new trend, it is that you have a model that doesn't have much knowledge. It just has the knowledge of communication. And then the knowledge happens to come from your documents. So what happens is that let's put it simple. So you just imagine you're uploading a PDF and there's text. The way it works is that this text, all the words, they are all basically extracted and decomposed. It's called tokenization. And then basically what happens is that those are being stored in what is called a vector store. It's a database, just let's call it very simple as a database. And then if we go back, for example, to when I said, what is the capital of France? The capital of France is Paris. The way it works is that these vectors, they are representing the words, basically. So this is literally just a match. So during the training, I don't know, let's say that the word capital is number 1, the word France is number 2, whatever, making it very simple. If in your question you ask what is the capital of France, the same thing will happen with your question. Your question is converted in the same way to this high-level tokenization, and then it means that you can easily match one word with the other, and this is how it knows which one is the context, if you go back to the cloud's context. But yeah, in terms of training, as I said, there are 2 ways. The one that is very popular at the moment, it is the one of having smaller models, because we all need different information. So you have 2 ways. You either make a model that is gigantic and contains everything that all of us might need, not very economical and very expensive to run, or you do one that is very small, but is very smart, just going into your knowledge base and is going to search it. It's called agents, basically. It's why nowadays we have smaller models and agents that are clever, and they're going, okay, I understand what it wants, and I'm going through my documents, and I'm going to see where and if I have this information. Oh, okay, it's going to be
One more?
the last one. Yeah. Okay.
So we had GPT 4.0 come out last few weeks. Obviously, ChatGPT 4.0 is quicker, but do you think I should go back to ChatGPT 4, or do I stay with ChatGPT 4.0 just based on the outputs the LLMs give?
I would definitely, with OpenAI, in my experience, just definitely always go with the latest one, because what they tend to do is that they tend to launch a new one. It is cheaper than the old one, even if it is better, and then they're concentrating all of their efforts on that one. 4.0, it is very good. I think it is a bit less verbose, but I like it quite a lot. And I think probably will be the last but one iteration before we get the 5, but definitely stay on the 4. All right? All right. Thank you very much.
Can we give Giancarlo a massive round of applause?
And I want to welcome Mike, our next. Sorry, did I speak your job? I did.
Do your thing, mate.
I really did.
Thank you very much.
That's my introduction, just as it's Mike. Hi, I'm Mike. That's what, can I have a clicker?
I would have done you a much better service.
I know, it's absolutely appalling. It's obviously generated with AI. So, first of all, go back to the beginning, and I'm going to stand in the middle, probably walk about a lot. Who gets the reference that I've made on the screen with the, just show of hands? Cool. I always find it's really good to talk about modern technology by referencing a film that came out 80 years ago. Dr. Strangelove, how I stopped worrying about the bottom, stop worrying and learn to love the bottom is what I'm going for, because people are panicking about AI. Now, why am I here? Go that way. That's me, patting an invisible dog at a conference in Spain. I've been in digital marketing for what feels like a long time now. I worked with the CIM, I wrote apprenticeship programs, AIU Peterborough, for the marketing programs. We tried our best. Developed with senior companies, massive companies across the UK, and I work globally and nationally on digital marketing. Also, I mean, Alex mentioned today, I am also one of the other neurospicy, as they put it, or as my brother told me playing D&D yesterday, autistic AF. And I am having not the best week with it. My employer is here with me, so I can speak for that. But luckily, one of the things I am hyper-fixated on in life is digital marketing. The problem is if I start talking at you about it and you lose interest, you probably have to wave at me, so I acknowledge that you've done that. So if I've done it to you today already, I'm sorry. What I'm here to talk about is search AI. Who's heard the term search AI, especially in the last couple of months? Yeah, it's becoming more and more of a thing. It's basically this. The top one, GPT plus Google equals something like that, which is the idea of integrating generative AI into your search and day-to-day search. You're probably seeing it in 2 iterations. Well, actually, you're only seeing it, because we're in the UK and the EU and Google still don't get on with each other, with Copilot probably most recently. Unless you're cool and using Perplexity AI, like all of us cool kids are doing at the moment. But it is being rolled out in the States. They made a big hoo-ha about it recently. and it went tremendously. You've probably seen some of these things if you're on LinkedIn for more than 5 minutes, where Google is telling you to put glue to stop your pizza slipping. It is telling you to eat a small rock a day. It has told you to drink your own urine. It has also told you that you will eat about 5 to 10 cockroaches, and the poison's okay in small doses. There's also a huge amount of fakes coming out, so if it sounds ridiculous, it's probably true. If it sounds logical, it's probably a fake. They have addressed this now. So last week, Liz Reed, who, if you ever want a determination of how serious Google is about rolling AI out, Liz Reed was the head of AI at Google, and now she's the head of search. So it really is spelling it out that this is the route they're going, so get on board. And Sundar Pichai was doing an interview recently and actually laughed about Google hallucinating and saying it's just a problem with LLMs. Yeah. So they acknowledge it, they are moving forward, but the main thing is we've got no choice in the matter. It's happening. That's not the full picture. The full picture is actually not Google, it's not Bing. It's the fact that the platforms that Giancarlo was talking about, GPT, and I mentioned Perplexity. ChatGPT's GPT functions and chats are now dipping into the internet and creating searches. They're creating a competitor for search engines. And that's not necessarily how they were created originally, it is how Perplexity was created. But the idea now is, if you are actively using a GPT, why would you go to Google? Hands up who's thought Google's been a bit crap for the last 3 months if you tried to search something. So it doesn't double hands up. It's been absolutely awful because they're trying to get their head around this. They're really trying to get their head around how they can match something this well. Bing's actually doing a better job. Over the last 3 months, Google's lost 8% market share. And when you've got a 98% market share, losing 8% of market share in America only, because obviously of what's happening, that's a huge chunk off your top line. So that's why it's important, because we might be seeing some disruptors in the marketplace as well as what's happening with search AI. That affects businesses, that affects organizations, because all of a sudden, if you've been dependent on SEO for a very, very long time, your SEO is different now. Your life's different, your content's different, how you present your story is different, how you present your business is different. But it's not going to change, they're not going to give up. I was talking about this earlier. It makes you feel very old when you start counting how many Google algorithm updates you've been through in your lifetime, and remembering when they gave them adorable names like Panda and Penguin, before they started calling them Bert and Fred because they ran out of ideas. But I remember them, 2013, probably good starting point for the audience. Anyone remember the Hummingbird update from Google? Yep, couple. Do you remember the meltdown we all went through as an industry? SEO's dead, everything's changing, we're going to have to completely do it. We're still here, we're still going. That was the first time of, so Hummingbird there, aimed at understanding the meaning behind search queries and the answers being provided. That was the first step on intent. AI is a logical progression of where we were at Hummingbird, and Hummingbird, oh crikey, that was 11 years ago now. So when we go past that, we end up in this. So anybody here go to the Norwich event? Cool. Scan that. It's Matt Buskell from Google came and talked to us about the kind of march of AI and what they were doing. You two were there. You should remember. Really interesting presentation because it talks about what the future is going forward. He's absolutely spot on with it and actually explains it in a really complicated subject in a really clean way. So we are in this kind of multimodal Gemini era, which they'll probably change the name because they like to do that. Marketing will talk to them. So it's nothing new then? No, it's not. We've gone through this, as I said. Mobile first, the generation of how it changed to near me before. Older people in the room remember having to type in, I want to go to get coffee in Peterborough, instead of just going, coffee, to your phone, and then it will tell you where the coffee was. So that was a big change. This delightful picture is covering up the most evil thing that ever happened, if you're in marketing, the helpful content update. In September, we all had collective heart attacks, and they made a really cute graphic about it. But the helpful content update was about making sure websites were being held accountable and everything that was on there was actually useful to people going on. That was the death of the long recipe page. My grandma showed me this in Italy. I went to Italy when I was 8. There's 600 words of content, a couple of pictures, a small video, and here's how you make some pasta. So it's now changing the way that we look at content. So do we need to change our thinking to match how our audience is thinking? If people in this room are using GPTs, you're searching by asking a question. What do you want back from a question? An answer. You don't want a recipe. So we start thinking about these. How are people using search? How are search engines trying to find you and your business? And how are SERPs going to be displayed going forward? The word SERP, search engine result page, I say SERP a lot, I think people know what it means, but it just sounds like weird. So, the way SERPs are going to look going forward, a search engine result page, is going to be a lot less space and a lot more activity. So as a business, as a marketer, if that's where you're going or if that's what you're doing, you need to start getting smart with it. And it's bigger than just Google. Saying like you need to have an alternative to Google. My Android Auto just gave up on the way in. I'm really glad I had another nav, otherwise I wouldn't have made it back to Peterborough. Feels that God's speaking to me, don't come back here, you've been here before. So this is the landscape that we're going to have to get used to. Gemini is going to be on every Android phone. You've got no choice in the matter. If you've got an Android, you've got AI in some format, and that's going to be based on Gemini. GPT and Apple have just signed big buck money deal, or if it's passed, yeah, I think it's passed. Giancarlo would know. Giancarlo. But that's, and obviously Copilot and Microsoft, it's still in beta stage, but it is snuck onto all of your Microsoft PCs and you don't have a choice in the matter. So we're starting to use it, and people are starting to use it on a regular basis. It's Mr. Clippy on speed. So what are we seeing from search engines then? So we're currently seeing this movement towards it, even if we don't have search AI overview in the UK yet, but we're seeing it on other platforms. It's a massive increase in crowdsourced information. You will be given Glory Hammer 97's opinion on what's best for your business before you actually speak to an expert, because they wrote something on Reddit in 2008. They can't agree on what's best. None of the platforms agree on what's best. I've put down the side there a bunch of stuff on Peterborough. And what Bing thinks is best is different to what Google thinks is best, what's different to what GPT thinks is best. You're not getting the same thing repeated. If you look at a major, if you're into stocks and shares, if you look at the biggest website on the internet for the information, Investopedia, 2 out of the 3 search platforms that I use do not reference Investopedia. Google has it at the top of absolutely everything. So there's something different, and they can take the answer from anywhere on the page. So what you're doing is creating a page with multiple pages within a page. The death of the meta description has been talked about a long time within SEO, because you write something, I think that's what Google wants to see, Google goes, nah, I'm going to pick this bit in the middle because I like it. So it's about matching and writing your content to fit with that. So what does that mean for your business? It's about intent-led search. As I said, that goes back to hummingbirds. What are your people saying? Your business, if you all sell, everyone in here sold socks. You all sell socks to different people with different reasons for those socks. Athletic socks, business socks. I ran out of examples very quickly there. But the audience who's buying your socks is going to be different, have a different intent for why they're searching. So you're writing for that specific audience. Every page, every product has their own mini persona now, because it's gathering all of these data sets that Giancarlo talked about, and it's putting them together and building this picture of a person. So if everybody in this room searched for the same sock product, and we were all signed into Chrome or whatever platform we were using, it would take all of our information that we have about us, and it would start narrowing down to the best fit, not fit, but best fit for socks for us personally. So eventually the move will be, all of us are going to see a different search result page and a different page at #1 at Google. Great for you. Awful for marketers. Gives us a bit of a headache. So we're learning to, ironically as I waffle on, get to the point. So what Giancarlo was talking about there with the answer response, it's about creating content that almost works like going back to school and answer an exam question. What's the capital of France? The capital of France is. So every time you're building content on page, if you've got a question on the page, you better get to the point about answering it. No longer about non as pasta, it's about what's the answer to the question, no waffle, give us that. Content writers hate me every time I talk about this. You're taking the creativity out of it. As a searcher, creativity is nice, but please just wind it in a little bit. Befriend structured data. That QR code there goes to Google's guide on structured data. Basically, if they've created a guide for it, it's important, probably look at it. There's one specifically out there for jobs, so if you work in recruitment, there's a specific structured data snippet used for recruitment, one for recipes, one for holiday rentals. All of those things are going to be on the search page, and they're going to be above all of the things that we're usually competing for, and they're going to plug into these AI answers. These are going to send information to generative AI searches. These are already being pulled in things like Perplexity and GPT Live Search and Claude. Claude loves a recipe page, it's weird. And local, so experts, enthusiasts, make sure the person writing about it actually knows about it, you can tell about it, you can actually know what's going on with it. It can sniff a phony, because as Giancarlo said, plugging in loads and loads and loads and loads of information, so all of a sudden it knows that person's a real person. Also need a data trail. Who wrote this? What do they do? What's their LinkedIn profile? Can you prove that they're an expert? Do they have a video series on this? Are they a professional footballer? Whatever it is, if they've wrote it and said they're an expert, you better be willing to demonstrate it, because the data is going to find it, and it's going to find it quicker than it was before. And local means local. And when I say this, I'm primarily talking about international, but it can mean anything. If you're from Derby and you call bread a cob, and you're from Derby, you call it a cob. If you write bread roll and you say this is written by someone in Derby, they're going to go, oh, that's the right posh person living here in Derby. That's not right. So local means local. When you're talking French, if French is your second language and you're writing an article for French people in France, it's going to know that it's your second language. It's going to know you don't live in Marseille. You've missed a comma in the wrong place, or you've said something slightly out of place, and it all of a sudden goes, no, this isn't for French people, by French people, this is by an English person writing as a second language. And it's getting really, really, really good at picking that up. So it's keeping everyone on their toes. It's actually making the internet cleaner, safer, more accurate, whilst giving other people headaches. Oh, it's got a laser pointer, that's why I keep pressing. It's not going anywhere though, so they're not going to give up on it. They've started. Google's given up on things before, Google+. I don't think they can give up on AI. I'd be surprised if they gave up on AI, the biggest kind of tech company in the world, going, nah, I don't fancy that. But that's why we need to adapt to it. It's going to change. I'm doing a similar presentation on this to a group of CIM marketers in July. Presentation will be very different by then. Something will have changed. Someone will have brought something out that's going to make everything very different. But it's about adapting. All those principles are the same when it comes to search AI. Give the right answer, be accurate, be transparent, make sure that you're presenting yourself in the right way, and be prepared to not just bend to the almighty power of Google. Other engines are out there. The amount of businesses I work with nowadays who are getting far more from Bing, to the point where I get emails from people going, you mentioned Bing 6 months ago, I didn't believe you, and now we're getting something. I was like, yeah, because everybody's left Google. Just keep moving ahead. Be ready for Perplexity. Be ready for GPT-5 when it is 100% live plugged in, and everybody who is, especially if you're doing stuff in the tech sector, you know your audience is already on GPT, they'll abandon it, their phone will just become GPT central. There is interesting ethical questions that come out of this. Where will it get the information when we can no longer make money from it if nobody's coming to the website? There's a whole world that's going to change after it. But this is why I've stopped worrying about it, because it's here. I can't do anything about it. I can't stop the steamroller that is AI, but I can learn to adapt to it the same way I learned to adapt to smartphones, because I'm old, and not quite lane assist on my car, because I'll never adapt to that, if you know what I mean. But I've learned to adapt to other technology, so will your audiences, and everyone will change along with it. If you want to hear me waffle more, that's LinkedIn, that's where I am. I will also be at the Cambridge AI Summit, not talking but walking around, so I'm open for questions if you have them, and I will try to answer them. I knew there was a hand coming up there. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah.
I was just interested, when a lot of the data is referencing stuff that already exists, you're a new brand.
Yes.
Is it almost like if you don't already exist, it's going to be really, really, really hard to make it into that world, because you don't have the data, you're not in the internet as much as Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
and you go, oh, I'm going to release James's Cola, am I now basically stuck?
No. So that's what's really interesting, and that's actually what actually makes this space, I think, potentially better for newer businesses. As Brett said, nobody can agree on what's best, but also nobody can agree on what's right for everybody. James's Cola may be the best cola in the world for people who want something that's not quite too fizzy, not quite too sweet, but fits in this thing where it's not quite healthy, but it's not quite not healthy, and all of a sudden, these little brand gaps come into it, and it's the same for anything. There are billions of people in the world. Not every billion person in the world is buying Coke, a cola. It's that thing where they are constantly looking for something that's right for them. So it's about finding, and then this is where the personalised search approach is where they've been going. Denise, we talk about this a lot. Google has been promising us personalised searches and 24-hour active live searches for what, decade and a half, 2 decades? Yeah, 20 years. They might actually finally do it at this point, but that means that there's an audience there for everybody. What it puts onto you is when you launch James's Cola, how are you communicating to your audience, knowing your audience is best and getting to them? This should make life easier for you. It does put pressure on you to do it right though.
Okay, we have another one. Yeah.
Thank you for that. My name's Kelly. Thanks for coming. And my question to you was essentially, right, from the way that I understood it, search results can now identify ingenuity. So if something's not quite clear. And like you said, that's good because it makes things more accurate. But is there a danger now that we don't get to share our own perspective as much? For instance, just because a result is relevant to, say, somebody from France, why is it that they don't get to share in what is relevant to me? Do you think that could be a problem?
It could. So it depends on how you look at the internet. If you look at the internet as a communication method en masse, then it makes the bubbles smaller. It creates mini echo chambers, and that's something we're talking about a lot within the community, is how do you prevent this siloing of individual nations. I am, for lack of a better word, a globalist at heart. I fully believe that we should communicate and act without borders. So with that in mind, that is worrying. But you can still communicate your message with those people if those people are your audience. If you've got something that's worth spreading out to the world, there is still an opportunity to spread out to the world, but you have to make it clear that that's what you're trying to do. It isn't really as much about adapting your message to the platform. It's about making sure your message is clear for your audience and trusting, which is weird to say with big tech, that it's going to catch up with what it's actually said that it's trying to do the entire time, which is make sure the right people are finding the right content at the right time for them. The promise of marketing since the early 1900s has always been manipulated and used, but that's the kind of altruistic approach to it that I like to have. I like to think that that is genuine. What we all know they're going to do is they're going to plug Google Ads into AI search results so they can get more money from Google Ads. But that's not what this is about. So yes, there is a danger that your messaging gets lost, but it's about using and embracing the technology to actually try and then amplify it to those audiences. So if you did have a message for the people of France in English, or if you speak French, in French, that's written in your tone, that fits your tone, fits your audience and answers their questions, it can still find them. It's only going to find you out if you are being superficial, if you are trying to put yourself somewhere. Disingenuousness should be destroyed with this. Hopefully, I can't believe I got that word out in one go. So genuinely I think there is a concern, but my hope, I still have a positive outlook on it despite, almost getting up to 20 years within digital marketing. So.
Any more? Yeah, one front, perfect.
Run.
Run.
That's not what your workout co-pilot said.
No, I know, right? No, on purpose. Thanks, Mike. There's so much to compute here, and those that know me will know I'm not often cynical. But if I put my cynical hat on for a moment, these big search organisations, they're ultimately they're profit making, and they'll be looking to adapt the algorithms to increase profitability. So walk me through that. How do we, if AI is going to create more accurate data that's for the betterment of society, is it?
It is, but there's also going to be competing spaces. So as of last week, Copilot started to run ads within Copilot. You may have seen them, may not have seen them, but you're next to, same as in the current search engine space, you put yourself next to the ads, you hope you can get yourself. They do also run paid media, so I'm quite glad they're not going away completely. But it's that point of putting your message in the conversation and trying to put yourself there. Yes, these are businesses. Google has always said, do no evil is their catchphrase, and that has very much gone into these quotations quite a lot recently. But it's that whole element of, it's not just the multi. They're trying to get in on it. We have to adapt to the multinational corporations who are using it to make sure that we still have a space to amplify messages, sell products, raise businesses, communicate. But it's also giving a bigger space to disruptors. So if it is a genuine chance that OpenAI, before it becomes a giant multinational conglomerate, can actually disrupt the space to the point where it becomes search engine number 3, poor Yahoo, God rest it, then maybe then there's a change that does bring more to it. Maybe Perplexity, which seems to be doing things from a fairly altruistic perspective because it does seem to be giving genuine good results. Maybe that gets upgraded. Maybe there's something in 3 months' time that we've not seen that everybody just goes, I haven't logged on, I haven't typed into Google for ages. The only thing that Google and Bing have for them on their side is our habits right now. We all search within URL bars. We can't stop ourselves, we've just started doing it. It's weird to me that we just started doing it. I can't think of the point when we did, but we just started doing it to the point where Bing gets a lot of its traffic. So we've got a few clients that I work with who go, people told us that they Googled us and they found us. And I could see their through tracking that they came through Bing. People just call it Googling because they're using a search. As soon as people switch to app-based search or they switch to a different form of search and they're not using browsers and URL bars, that changes the game again. And that's why Google and Copilot, so Gemini, they're trying to get the app rolled out in the EU and it's still not been approved, probably because of data privacy issues and the fact that they can't get anything approved at the moment. But they want that on your phone. They want you to go to it to use it to search. If something else can do that better, my hope is that we will all start using that and then that will make a change. So it is actually opening the doors for disruption. So that's why I say when we're talking about AI search, now that AI and GPTs and such and scripts are finding their way to the internet, there's a new pathway for search. There's a new path, and then it's whether or not the big companies catch up. I am an incredibly cynical person. I'm just trying to be positive about this, so we'll see where it goes.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we give a round of applause for Mike, please? You sound like a wild optimist. You don't sound cynical at all. And 1.2 trillion is what the amount of money that's been invested by the big companies into AI.
Just a drop.
So yeah, I think they're pretty sick. Like, you follow the money, right? That's what I've learned in life. Anyway, okay, so on to the next speaker. So actually, you can do an intro this time because Giancarlo hasn't hogged the mic. So I'll do the intro. It's fine. You're right. You go have a coffee or something. Okay, so you have to do that, do you? Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Brad. Brad is a multidisciplinary artist whose work explores themes of consciousness, psychology, and spirituality through the lens of borderline personality disorder, integrating digital and traditional mediums. Did AI generate that for you? I'll leave it to him.
Yeah, I'm like pre-panic attack right now. So yeah, I'm Brad. I'm currently a student technically, but I'm graduating the 10th of July. So yeah, I was studying fine art and also done creative computing, so that's like virtual reality, coding, and augmented reality. I was made the AI rep at NUA, but nobody asked me. They just sort of put me inside the Microsoft Teams group, and then that just started rolling from there. I used to run a company called Generative Limited, which was basically like a peer-to-peer support group for people with mental health problems, supporting those with mental health problems, completely volunteer run. My materials, as you see, well, some of the images that scan in the background there, sculpture, acrylic paint, tech, VR, AI, all 3D basically, just anything to try and plug what it's like inside my head into physical things. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder when I was about 19, and that led me down the path of like studying about sort of philosophy, sociology, basically anything to understand the mind. So yeah, let's talk about BPD. So it can be a bloody nightmare sometimes. As I said about like the pre-panic attack, I've done one of these before and I was a little bit nervous. This time it's a little bit like. So yeah, it comes like there. It's basically like having normal human emotions except amped to like 100 every time. So a little bit of anxiety becomes panic attack, but all of the like positives as well, like say if you're happy, say you might see a sunset, I will literally cry my eyes out at just a sunset, which as a man with tattoos, piercings, shaved head, all that sort of thing, people are like, you crying a lot. I'm like, yeah, I'm sensitive, yeah. But it also makes me quite passionate, especially talking about BPD, because I want other people with borderline to basically be able to see it, or even just other mental health conditions like our neurospicy people, because you guys give me hope, and I think it gives other people hope as well. You know, we've got to talk about these things, even if it's terrifying. So AI has helped me by being a collaborator. So when I've done the creative computing course, I didn't quite know a lot about coding. They didn't teach Python, but over time, I've it's been like a collaboration between me and ChatGPT, back and forth, and I'm starting to understand Python simply by telling ChatGPT what I want it to do. Then it gives it to me, and then I can sort of create my own functions and stuff from that. It's quite good for getting life advice because it is impartial and non-judgmental. Like one of the big things with BPD is feeling like everybody hates you constantly, and that can be like, just no. To the mouth like that. Yeah, okay. So I want to hear it reverberate. That's actually helped me out. That's put me a little bit of ease. Thank you. You got to cock up once, right? And then everything makes it a bit better. So yeah, because it's impartial and non-judgmental, I can pass in like things that I'm struggling with, and it just brings it back to me. I'm like, the AI doesn't hate me, thank God, but it might do one day. It might be the T1000. Maybe I've asked it too many personal questions. I'll skip over the other bits straight to the admin tasks, because obviously being an artist, writing grants and things like that, that's a big part of it. So I'm currently working on a bid for the National Lottery project grants, and AI is essentially like my personal assistance with that. And what I've done is I went to the White Pube website, downloaded every single successful application for grants funding, put that into ChatGPT and was like, this is your understanding. You are going to be my personal guide. You're going to give me the language to use. You're going to help me structure everything. And that's it. I try not to get it to write content for me because, again, I like that personable. Like, if I use AI to talk like me, you'd be able to tell because I talk weird at times. Yeah. So AI and art. Let's go to. This is a piece called Ada. This took me 5 months to build, and it was done in collaboration with AI, and it uses AI to do its thing. Are you going to play? Sound? Oh, that's very, very quiet. Is that coming from the laptop?
I've gone into like decoding mode or something.
Is that F12? Okay, so this system it didn't work, yeah. So this, I sculpted the face in Blender, sculpted the eye in the middle physically with clay. I got it vacuum formed.
the animations inside the eyes, all of the code for that was written in collaboration with AI. But what the system does is the masks on the left there are each programmed to represent a Jungian archetype. So you have like the warrior, the mother, the rebel, all these sorts of things. And then the user will pick up one of the masks, put them on the central platform, and it triggers an audio which tells the user what its character and what its persona is. And then after introducing itself, it says, I'm listening. And then it will interact with the user based on its persona type. So far, people have been testing it, and there's like mixed reactions to it. Some people are like, yeah, this is great. Other people are like, oh, this is terrifying. It's going to take over the world. Yeah, so let's be nice to it. I don't know if you've has anyone heard of Rocco's Basilisk with regards to AI? So it's like this thought experiment where knowing its inevitable consciousness and sentience, be nice to it, because otherwise it will come back for you and your grandchildren. Oh, now it's clicked off the bloody. It's all gone wrong.
Would you like me to do the slides as well?
Oh, sweet, yeah. So yeah, basically a lot of the code was just made in collaboration with AI, but luckily through the creative computing course I sort of knew how to ask it and what to ask it. And 4.0 is actually better for coding now. Like it spits it out a lot quicker and it sort of interprets what you're trying to do much, much quicker. ChatGPT 4, the AI system is coded to that. So there's currently about a 15 to 20 second delay between the user talking to it and it talking back. But it's all installed for an art show. But in the future, I'm going to change that because 4.0 is like instantaneous response as opposed to taking its sweet, sweet time. I've experimented with like pretty much every AI I could get my hands on. So who is it you were saying about Googling stuff? So on my phone, I have Spotify. Then I used to have Google because I just ask it questions. Now it's Spotify and an AI folder because I don't Google anything anymore. It's just like, oh, just ask ChatGPT. But I've used it to do everything. Meal prep. My fridge looks like a psychopath's fridge at the moment with just boxes. No food, just boxes. Well, with food in, I don't eat the boxes. That would be ridiculous. Has anybody used 11 Labs? It's sick. If you're looking for like really naturalistic human voices, 11 Labs is the one. I think it's about your first month is $2, and then it's $5 after that for about 30,000 characters. But if you're like, once you start using it and you see content on like YouTube or like social media stuff, you can tell, you're like, oh, this is that voice or this is that voice. And the future, yeah, what do I think of the future? What did I write for this? So, create more custom models for arts installations. The translation model, I think, is, like, I grew up, the first book I read was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the Babelfish, or the Babelfish, is like, I want that. I want to be able to talk to someone in their language and be able to talk about, like, deep, meaningful things as opposed to just surface-level things, because I think that, like, barrier is causing a lot of the division on the planet at the moment. If we can just get to that point where you're just like, oh, like, your emotions, you feel them exactly the same as I do. It's just the surface level things that we feel, which are, yeah. Opposition model, the philosopher and the contrarian, this was an idea to basically draw attention to that division and trying to find the balance between opposites. Like me and Nick, we're both on different sides of the political divide, but we were talking about like the common ground, which I thought was very cool, nice. So this would be like a room where you have both like both wings talking, and you'll go in, introduce a topic, and then the AI will talk back and forth. The digital noise model is basically using that same one, but rather than talk so you can hear it, it'll be 3 large faces, and they'll each represent a different type of sort of mental health problem, and it will just be noise. So you get to experience what it's like to have weird brain. So the reason it's called borderline personality disorder is because when it was like discovered in the 80s, it was borderline schizophrenic, which is like terrifying to tell people because schizophrenia has a bad rap. I'm also working on a GPT-2 model with the Raspberry Pi that is going to be swearing and sarcastic and just a proper little punk model. then I'll put that into one of the large faces that's going to have like punk spikes and be pink and yeah, just neon. Yeah, it's just feels just like the beginning. Like it's gonna go places, and hopefully not the Terminator places. Yeah, these are all my socials and everything. So if you want to scan the Linktree thing there, you can find me and all examples of my work. I'm actually mostly active on LinkedIn, which is weird for an artist. Meta sort of just started doing my head in. They changed the algorithm, and I don't want to dance for engagement. So yeah, I'll be on the panel as well in a second, so you'll hear me swear inadvertently more.
Stay there.
Oh yeah, questions.
Questions, so stay there. Questions. I've got so many questions, but I'm not going to wait for the panel for that. Sure. Hello. Oh, yes. Awesome.
Thanks, Brad. That was really interesting to me. You had mentioned at some point that you've started to use AI instead of Google now. And I have too, but you seem quite optimistic about it, and I'm not. I've actually been fairly frustrated at myself because I find myself asking ChatGPT to do things for me that I'm quite capable of doing. So my question to you is, how much dependence is too much?
That's a good point, yeah. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because I think we're still discovering like how to use it really. Like I'm trying to depend on it to motivate me to exercise. Clearly it's not working. But I want to get one just like in my glasses or like installed in my head or something. So I suppose I'd end up massively dependent on it. But I think for me I need something there that's constantly like reaffirming that people don't hate me. Most people don't really give a shit about. Like, it's fine. But just having that sort of constant encouragement I think is going to be useful for me. Yeah, I have this thing I've been saying about AI since like I think it's going to enable the disabled and disable the enabled. Like particularly in art, if you can paint, then paint. Whereas if you are unable to use your hands, for instance, but you want to paint, you might be able to use AI to help you structure it, and then you can work to that sort of thing. That didn't answer your question, did it? I don't know.
You mentioned something I hadn't thought about.
Okay.
We're all happy with the response. Well done.
Sweet.
Anyone else? Yeah, okay.
My God, I'm going to talk about make me feel old. So I'm asking this from your parents' point of view, right? Or ask, how have you changed their lives, and do they understand what you're doing?
Deep question. They don't understand what I'm doing, but because of my borderline, they've understood since I was about 12. Luckily, I think a lot of the conversations we've pushed towards around mental health have changed things. Like, I used to be estranged from my dad, but because he's now understanding mental health problems more, he's now understanding me a lot more. But when it comes to tech and art, he has like straight over his head, has no idea. Yeah, it just feels like, I mean, we grew up watching Back to the Future and stuff like that. So it's just like, I'm a futurist, like I've always been a futurist. I'm obsessed with cyberpunk stuff. I want everything to be neon white, so I want to get rid of white, I want to replace it with like pink and magenta and cyan. But yeah, they've never quite understood that. Yeah. Which is fine, I'm okay with that. Yeah. It's like, it feels like being cutting edge.
Okay, any more questions for... no, I think you're good. Can we give Brad a massive round of applause? I'm really looking forward to the panel now. Oh, is he? I'm back here, am I? That's fine. Okay, so we're going to break after the next speaker, so one more. Okay, so we have Neil. Now, Neil is former design director at McKinsey & Company. He's Dynamics CEO, you're early, and consultant renowned for his innovative approach to overcoming business challenges. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. everybody. No? You want it big, not small.
Yeah, I'm not. Giancarlo didn't tell me he bought his MacBook.
This is a community.
Mac user? Apple user, please?
Down, left, there we go.
I was trying to use the screen shortcut.
Right, I'm going to talk about how to improve your brand authenticity with generative AI technologies. Now, I'm sure we've heard a lot of really technical stuff, haven't we? I'm not a technical person, I'm a creative. And it's a bit overwhelming, isn't it? It's a bit kind of, well, how do I respond to this? What do I do? So I'm going to make you feel actually like you're in control, that you've got, you are in the driving seat of what to get AI to do. Because AI is a tool. And just remember, we use tools to create what it is that we want. AI is not controlling us.
Bottom one.
Bottom one. Yay. And the animations work, that's really cool. So, how did I end up on this stage? Well, give you an idea, I've been doing this a long time, yes. 1997, that is Keith Flint from The Prodigy, which that album came out when I graduated Reading Uni a long time ago. So some of my greatest hits, I guess career-wise, are about digital transformation. I was responsible for leading the team that introduced data visualization to Barclaycards, and we won a Design Week award for that. Yet banking, customer servicing, winning a Design Week award, doesn't really happen. Then, because that worked quite well, they let us have the keys to the big house, which was Barclays, and they asked us to design the first Barclays iPhone app, which was a really cool thing to do. And now that is the way that Barclays do business. Everything that they do goes through the app, and that was a huge digital transformation. I was then asked to lead a team at UBS, and then we re-platformed the entire investment bank. So everything they did, trading, analytics, sales, all of that kind of stuff, we put into one app. And really trying to change the role of what an investment banker was, and I guess how a bank works. We were trying to connect all of their intelligence, and they were, you know, most trading is done with AI and has been for a very long period of time. So, you know, it was interesting about, well, what do we do if technology is changing what us as people have a role in the bank? Then I was invited to join the consultancy. So first Accenture and then McKinsey & Company, because they wanted to learn how do you use creativity to help our clients. So that's my backstory. Enough about me. Right, so AI is technology. Now I've seen a lot through my career. Things keep on changing. It did start off with desktop publishing. Does everybody remember the death of print and how books were not going to be useful anymore? And all of these kind of things. How many times have we seen that happen over the last 20 or 30 years? The things that we know and love have been replaced by technology. So we have to kind of go, right, okay, let's take a breath. What is actually going to change that we haven't necessarily seen change before with AI? Then there was the dot-com boom. And I graduated into that, which is how a typographer ended up being in digital. Now the dot-com boom, everybody's getting really excited in technology. Everybody invested a huge amount of money. And then it kind of went bang. And the reason it went bang is because a lot of the companies didn't really know what the purpose of their technology was. Then we look at Web 2.0. That kind of changed the way we think about the world. Everything that was happening in the world was suddenly available to us at our fingertips. That, you know, if you didn't know that before, that was such a huge transition for people to take in, and we're still dealing with the consequences. We are still dealing with the fact that somebody can do something, you know, about 6,000-7,000 miles away, and we need to know about that right now and then respond to it. We as people are not programmed, we're not genetically involved to be able to deal with that kind of communication, and we have to kind of take a breath and go, yeah, let's be a bit calm about this. Then, obviously, the phone was invented, and that put us all in, and that put it all inside our pockets, which was quite a difficult thing to do. So, right, this is the business slide. I have to thank my ex-employers for this wonderful slide that shows how valuable a designer is to a business, which is really useful. So they did a research, lots of very big fancy companies, and they found out that if you think about design and you put design thinking at the heart of what you do, So what is the purpose of my business? What is the customer value? These businesses were up to twice as commercially successful. That's a pretty big number, and that will work for any business. I passionately believe any business that thinks about design, customer experience will be more commercially successful. So, back to the first slide. Brand, authenticity, and generative AI. Brand and authenticity, they're kind of properties of human intelligence, aren't they? Would you say AI was, would authenticity be something that a computer would think about? Am I being authentic to myself? It has no idea where authenticity is. So we have to kind of think, right, what do those words mean to us? Right. No to the naysayers. That's what we have to say. And I got that from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Say no to the naysayers. Robots and redundancy. We're hearing a lot about that, aren't we? But a lot has been happening before with technology that's done the same thing. Mining. That wasn't exactly the best human activity, and we're defending a lot of jobs which are not actually the best and most human things to do. Then there was working in cube farms. They weren't very nice, were they? Now we get to work from home, which is cool. Getting on a train every day and, having, even though I was born in Cambridge, I work and live, etc., around London, so I spent a decade going in and out of London on the train, and that's a very strange thing for people to do. And then, this is back to my typographic history, we think about the invention of the printing press and movable metal type. That was a huge technology change. That technology change really kind of a lot of manuscript writers were out of jobs. They were very upset. But a lot of industry suddenly started. The 42-line Bible became an Amazon bestseller, of the time anyway. But also, bookshops, libraries, all of that kind of thing. Amazon wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Gutenberg. So we've got to kind of think about the historical context of what's going on and take a step back from AI, I believe. Now that takes us on to the Mad Men test. I'm assuming most people have watched Mad Men or know what it is. Now we look back at Mad Men and we look at this culture and we look at all the people, the things that they did in Mad Men. We think, oh my God, how did they behave like that? How did they behave like that? Why did people have those attitudes? Now, if we look about all the things that we're defending and we're protecting about our world at the moment, would they pass the Mad Men test? If we were to go 50 years into the future, would we think, oh my God, what were we thinking? What were we doing? So I think anything that we're trying desperately hard to hold on to, we need to know, is that going to pass the Mad Men test? Is it going to be something that we won't look back and go, actually, do you know what, that needed to change? Okay, so brands, they start and they end first with a person, don't they? They're all about people. Anything that we do or create with AI, the idea comes from a person, is used by a person. We sell from person to person. With the businesses that we own and the businesses that we work in, we have employees, we have teams, they have jobs to do. We have customers that we want to have a relationship with, that want to be valued. What we need to do is put AI that in between those two things that makes all of that better. How do you make your employee more effective? How do you make them feel more valued? How do you make your customer feel more valued? How do you end up surprising and delighting your customer? That is what we need to do with AI. We need to get it to set the brief to bring people closer together, to make better person-to-person relationships. Sorry, I've been down with a cough for months, like most people, so forgive me if my voice is getting a bit tired. So, brands. Now, I went to the dictionary for this explanation about what a brand was. There are many people that will tell you brands are this, brands are that. A brand is an expression of what your company believes in. It's an expression of the people inside it, of what you want to achieve, what you want to be identified by. AI will not tell you what those things are. So you have to decide what those things are. And when you have a strong idea of that, then that really forms part of the brief for what you want AI to do. So your brand, don't be informed what your brand should be. Build that idea, be very strong, have that opinion, because that is what you need to do. A brand is an expression. Then, authenticity. We all want to be authentic in our lives. I'm authentic in my t-shirt as well, kind of like matching that with what we're doing today. What are your goals? What do you want to be known for? What are your values? And you want to be authentic to your customers, to your employees, to your team. Authenticity is a value which we're being held to account for, especially with Gen Y. There are stats that prove that, no, not Gen Y, Gen Z, Jesus. Gen Z. They won't actually do business with businesses that don't share the same values. So values are an increased importance to success. And if we don't realise that the values people hold are important to us, then we will get pulled out for not being authentic. As Giancarlo kind of put in with his images about being authentic, you'll get pulled out if the language is quite obviously ChatGPT. People will see it and they won't value it. I don't know if everybody else has seen on LinkedIn at the moment, how many of us are talking to camera? How many, you're not seeing, you're seeing people standing up, talking through their posts, saying what they actually believe. It's not something that's written down, because guess what? People don't read that because they think it's come from ChatGPT. So people are stepping up and going, this is me, this is what I believe in. Even if they did have help writing the script from ChatGPT, at least they put the effort in to actually stand in front of the camera and talk about it. Purpose. This is a big word. Everybody's talking about purpose. So for your company, for your business, for your weekend, for your life, what is it that gets you out of bed? What is your purpose? And you've really got to take hold of this, because when you go to any of these AI technologies, and when you ask them to create, ask for your help, you have got to have a really strong idea of what the purpose is, what are the results, what are the questions you want answered. If you have an idea of the purpose, and you get a result back from any of these wonderful AI technologies, you've got to say, does that serve my purpose? Is that what I want it to do? Don't be frightened of that you should be doing. Don't let the technology lead you. You define your purpose, your company defines your purpose, so hold on to that. It's what gets you out of bed in the morning, it's what makes you feel enthusiastic. So grasp hold of it, because we all need that, and it's what we're being judged on today for business success. Value. If a business doesn't have value to its customer, if what you do does not bring value to your customers, your business has no value. I mean, it is that simple. So you've got to think, with anything you create, what is the value that is bringing to my customers? What value is that bringing to my community, to my society? You have to have that idea of value. What value are you bringing? How is that changing people's lives? How is that making them better? Be it from the most boring thing, like, I don't know, returning your taxes, or, you know, paying a parking fine, or whatever, to having the holiday of your lifetime. What value does it serve? Been reading a lot of books. Now, Matthew McConaughey, I promise I won't try the Texan accent, no matter how much my inner brain wants me to do it. He has defined the things that people want are these. We want to find value. We want to go out to the world, we want to own things, we want all of these things. We want to find value in your life. Then we want to be valued. I want to be valued a little bit for what I'm doing up on the stage. I want to be valued when I go home. I want to be, you know, valued as a customer by organisations. You know, I want that loyalty. So to be valued is really, really important. And then there's the human thing. We want to have something to look forward to. You know, we want to have something to look forward to some sense of anticipation. Be that with a business relationship as well. You know, with a company, you want to look forward to the next interaction you have. You know, whether you can look forward to the next time you go to Sainsbury's or not, I don't know. But you would like to maybe get the loyalty points or something like that. But we want something to look forward to. These are the traits of what it is to be human. We all want these things, and we're all governed by these things. So Matthew McConaughey says in his book, if all of these boxes are ticked, life will feel like if you're driving to work and every traffic light is green. Every traffic light is green. This is what life will feel like if you find value, if you're being valued, and you've got something to look forward to. So we all want to be looking for those green lights. You hit a few ambers and reds, you're missing a couple of these things. Generative AI. Oh, tricky, hey? We are taught at school, or we're governed at school, that we need to learn the answers to things. You know, my youngest son has just done his SATs. And we're taught to remember stuff, aren't we? What's the capital of? What's this number? What are these things? And that is what we are told is a measure of our intelligence. But large language models have all of that information. So that's not really a test anymore, is it? Every single bit of information is available by talking into something, by answering that question, by, you don't even know how to spell anymore or write. So what is our role? Well, guess what? It's the fun stuff. We get to ask the questions. We get to look at this wealth of information, and we have to ask the critical questions to get the answers that we want. And then we get the reply, and then we think of a new question. Now this is really, really human. I don't know how many of you got kids. What do we do when we're kind of like, the kids are always asking questions. But why? But why? But why? But why does that do? That's what we need to do. That's our role now. We don't need to remember all of this stuff. But what we do need to do is say, wow, we've got so much information at our fingertips. How do we bring that to life? How do we bring value and purpose to the things that we're doing through these wonderful tools? So unleash your 7-year-old child. It's still in there. It hasn't been completely beaten out, but that's what you need to do. You really need to bring that forwards. I've got a couple of stories to finish off, because people don't remember facts, and I hate to tell, you're not going to remember much about this talk. You're not going to remember all of the facts and details that we've been shared, but we will remember some stories. So, this is a book that's inspired me. I don't know how many of you are into running. There's this wonderful book called Born to Run. And it's written by Christopher McDougall, and he's a journalist, a sports journalist, and he was keen at running, but he kept on getting injured. And he went to doctors, and he was saying, wow, why are people getting injured being running? And they said, well, that's because running's bad for you. He went, really? And he went to doctor after doctor, and they couldn't cure him. So he set himself this challenge to go, are we meant to run as people? Are we actually genetically designed as people to be runners? His journey took him, he took him to crazy ultra runners. He discovered this tribe in the copper canyons of Mexico called the Maramai, which means the running people. And there's their culture, have running at the heart of it. Because would you believe that the reason that we survived and Neanderthal man didn't is because we could run? And our feet are wonders of genetic engineering. They are absolute wonders of it. But Nike and lots of other people decided that our feet weren't very good at running. So they put this huge bit of foam in between us and the world. Guess what? It caused a lot of problems. It gave us injuries. It made, chiropractors and all this kind of stuff really, really good. It made, lots of running shoe companies with springs and bouncers and gels and air bubbles. Wonderful. But they were trying to solve a problem that didn't need solving. They put technology between us and what our bodies are designed to do. So if you remember that, if we're using technology, is it making it better for people? Because putting technology in between us and the world to stop us being the humans that we're designed to be is not a good idea. Touched on this a little bit. You don't remember things in conversations. You won't remember all of the things I say. But when you have a conversation with somebody, you will remember how it made you feel. Won't you? You think, was it enjoyable? Was it informative? Did you feel welcomed? You will remember that. So anything we do with technology, we need to make sure that we're getting that feeling across that people will remember. How many times have we got irritated with chatbots? Yeah. So we're looking at how to put empathy into them. We're putting faces on them with artificial humans nowadays, because we need to communicate to people, to ourselves, in a way that makes us feel, that means that we can use our eyes, our ears, our senses to actually get that communication feeling right. So that's the kind of thing that DALL-E and the imageries of AI don't get. They don't understand the authenticity of the image because they don't understand, well, where was that sofa from? You know, where was the sofa from? You know, was it one your mum that gave you? You know, was the dog? So, you know, what beach was it on? All of these bits of authenticity that we relate to, they, you know, the AI will not create for us. So we want to make sure that we get that right feeling across, and we want to feel that there is a story behind things. So hopefully it inspired you a little bit, because vision is what we need. AI is a wonderful tool, and it's going to get better beyond the way that we can any of us imagine. But if you have an idea of the purpose and the value you want to bring, use that to inspire you. I haven't given you any bits of factual information, but I've hopefully given you some prompts, some ideas. You can go back and take your world and think, do you know what? I'm going to remember that story about Neil and the trainers, and look down at my feet and go, actually, you know, maybe I need to get technology to make us be better humans. Okay, final story, and this is the only slide I've used AI for. Only slide. The rest of it was handcrafted. Right. I don't know how many of you know the story of the three bricklayers. It comes from, or it's said that Sir Christopher Wren was walking up to St Paul's Cathedral and he saw three bricklayers standing in front of St Paul's Cathedral, and he asked each of them what they were doing. The first one said, I'm laying a brick. The second one said, I'm earning enough money to feed my family. The third one said, I'm building a cathedral that my son can go and worship in. Three people doing exactly the same job, but a completely different sense of purpose. So this story is a true story. From Professor Damien Hughes. He wrote a book called How to Think Like Alex Ferguson. Now, I am not a Man U fan in any way. I should have brought my Brighton and Hove Albion scarf, because that's where my parents are from. Seagulls. Anyway, and but he wrote this book about stories that happened at Manchester United. So one of the coaches went into the changing rooms. Bex was there with a couple of his teammates, and he recounted that story about the three bricklayers. Then he took the same idea to the training pitch. So, well, what do you know? You've got Premiership football players out there. So ask three Premiership football players what they're doing. So one said, well, I'm training. The other one says, well, I'm earning £1,000 an hour or more. And the third one says, I'm training to make Manchester United the best club it can possibly be. And he told that story in the changing room to these great players, including David Beckham. So David Beckham goes out onto the training pitch, and they have this wonderful match. Bex does his great thing. He scores a fantastic goal, goes top, left, right-hand corner of the goal. He runs over to the touchline shouting, Cathedral Builders 1, Bricklayers 0. True story. That sense of purpose is what drove. And he took that and you tell it to the pitch, if I'm there to make Manchester United the best, if I'm there to build a cathedral, that's fantastic. Oh, have I gone the wrong way? Yes, I have. So, that's me. You can find me on LinkedIn. And what I want you to take away with, most importantly, and these were wonderful sketches. I did a similar talk to this, and a wonderful chap called Martin Barnes actually took the notes and turned them into these great sketches. But the thing I want you to remember, you don't need to have the answers, but what you do need to have is the right questions.
for 2 questions before the break. So, any questions? We're craving a break. Yeah, around that way.
I know I'm between you and coffee, so it's a tough gig.
Yeah, given the number of fairly inauthentic brands out there at the moment, how many of them do you think would benefit from seeing what AI thinks their brands and their values are?
Interesting question. Interesting. Well, would AI think? Or you know, would it have an opinion, or would it will probably be the echo chamber of what people are saying about them, wouldn't it? Because I mean, AI, ChatGPT is actually an echo chamber of what the most popular public opinion is. I know I asked it a question and did a post on LinkedIn about what would people say of it is, you know, the benefit of generative AI, and what would people say the positive things about generative AI. It was a complete echo chamber of what people were saying. Obviously on the LinkedIn post, the one that got more likes was the one about negative, so where we're arbiters of doom, I don't know, but that's a full. I'm not quite sure if that's a complete answer, but I think it will be able to tell us more about what people are saying about us.
One. That's it.
So I got a little confused about your analogy with Nike.
Yes?
I don't think they'd agree with you that they haven't improved the technology of people to run. So how do you say it hasn't worked? I got confused in what you were trying to tell me there.
Okay, well, I mean, what they did is they kept on putting more and more stuff in between our feet. And our feet are wonderful things that can absorb shock. Would you believe that if you put, say, a really thick Nike shoe on, the impact on your body and the damage it does to your body is actually greater than if you run in bare feet?
And that's the bit I'm sort of confused with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what part of my body does it actually affect? Because it's not my feet.
No, it affects your knees. It's shockwaves.
So you're saying all the guys who are running with Nike shoes, breaking world records, are going to have a problem with the knee because of that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll record that. We'll see what
Yeah, you should read Born to Run. It's got the answers. I'm just bringing a little bit of
just be careful. All I'm saying is it sounds a bit way out to challenge something that's breaking world records and then say they're going to...
What you should do is run on a piece of grass, take your shoes and socks off, and run on a piece of grass, and your feet will bounce. And you'll stop running like this, which is what Nike teaches you to do, land on your heels. Because if you try and land on your heels, your body will tell you you're doing the wrong thing very
I
quickly.
was born in Kenya, so I know about barefoot runners and how they broke records, but they've actually turned to shoes as well. So anyway, we'll have a discussion about that.
Certainly.
If AI is not one to provoke challenge, let it be running. Okay, we're going to give Neil another round of applause, please. Okay, so we're going to take a 15-minute break, 10-15-minute break.